I timed that
They
terribly.
do
I
that.
timed it
Yeah,
terribly.
staying
Are we
with your
live?
butt. That's why.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll cut that in post. Welcome everybody to Dancing Dragons Live. Dancing Dragons Live is Dancing Dragons weekly live show where you get to hear from real coaches talking about real things that affect your real life. Dancing Dragons is a brand new coaching collective. You can go find us at DancingDragons.CC. The CC stands for Coaching Collective. So that's DancingDragons.CC. And you can book yourself a coach for any topic that you can imagine. We have hundreds of coaches on the network. We cover every kind of niche, every kind of skill set, every kind of hope or desire. Anywhere that you want to go in life, Dancing Dragons can help you get there. So go to dancingdragons.cc, find the perfect coach for you. Today on Dancing Dragons Live, we got a great episode. It's about how to get the most out of an argument. I'm super excited to talk about this because I argue with people all the time. I'm middle child of seven, so this hits home, right? So, Will, you want to take it away?
Yeah, no, and me and Elijah, like literally, that's our entire friendship. He just has a dumb take, and then I just spent several hours convincing him he's wrong. And it's also too, I'm probably the most humble guy that's ever lived, but it's also going to teach you some tricks here today, guys, about the preparation getting in beforehand and what you can do before you even sit there to kind of get the most out of your debate or your discussion. And by the way, I am undefeated in debates. Now, Elijah might like to think Elijah might like to think behind the scenes he's kind of got me on something like that. But in my public debates that I've done on YouTube and other platforms, undefeated, and that's because, as Elijah will bring up, there was a famous Japanese swordsman, and he said to pick your battles wisely. I do not take on a debate where I don't know both sides of the argument. So we're going to talk about the preparation that you can do before a debate, both psychological and otherwise. We're going to delve into the neuroscience of disagreements, and we're going to actually walk you through different conversations through statistics and actual disagreements and kind of give you a blow by blow how to exactly go about doing this and have the most effective conversation. So, want to set the table here for us, Coach Eli?
Sure, sure. So I think that a lot of people are like averse to like argumentation. There's like a lot of people that like I don't know. There's different types of backgrounds and stuff where they start seeing a dispute and they're out of there, right? And they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with any kind of controversy or whatever. And I'm here to try to like reframe that today, right? Like I want people to look at argumentation as a good thing almost, right? Now, it's not always a good thing. Sometimes it's petty, right? But generally, disputes are good, right? And I think that there's like a lot that goes on, right? So before we get to like why arguments are good, right? Like you have to realize like when a dispute happens with other people, right? There's an emotional response that happens, and I think that Coach Mazza, I think that you could probably talk on this topic a little bit better than me. You got like a whole PhD thing going on with this. So like, what happens exactly, Coach Mazza, when somebody's arguing with you? You know?
Okay. So first of all, when most people hear the word disagreement, their body reacts before even their mind does. And there are signs. For example, they have tight chest, faster heartbeat, their urge to defend yourself, or withdraw or prove a point. All of these things. So, as a professional or as a mental health expert, let me tell you that there is something more important to this, and that is that disagreement itself it's not the problem. The problem is how what we do inside ourselves during the disagreement. That's where things get really break down or grow from there. So what happened in that situation is our body is mostly in the fight or flight mode. And why? Because our signals to our amygdala is going through our brain, and that our body. Because if someone is like stressing out, their heartbeat is faster, and that's sending signals to our amygdala. And amygdala is responsible of all this cortisol and different neurotransmitters. So at that time, what happens? Either our body is itself is like freeze, or it's in fight or flight mode. So that actually what happened when you cannot. That mostly happen when a very sensible person says something which is not sensible. So
Mhm.
that's what's actually going on in our brain.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to your point, fun fact, that's why cops will yell freeze because they know the different responses that they have. And another thing about that too, when you get into that situation, I think it's important because we do have this trained reaction. Our heartbeat, as you said, actually speeds up. So it's
Yes.
important to realize, hey, this is just Maza. She's incorrect, but it's just a human being. She's not a saber-tooth tiger. She's not going to eat me. This is a natural response left over from billions of years of evolution. But my apologies, Elijah. Coach Eli, you were saying?
I just don't think that you know Mazza well enough to be sure that she's not going to eat you.
Well, see,
And
that's
you know,
that's
I'm sorry. And you know, when your brain senses danger, even any emotional danger or like conflict or something, so our amygdala that sends the alarm to our hypothalamus in our brain. That is basically thing which activates our sympathetic nervous system, which is our release or stress hormone are over there, which is our adrenal rush or cortisol is over there. That basically changes our several physical changes in us, which is heart rate, or our breathing becomes faster, or there's muscle tension, or then at that time we are ready to action or not. Also, one thing happened that our eyes, our pupil dilates, or at that time our thinking narrow down, and we are not able to focus on anything logical. And our even our digestion system that slows down too during that time.
Maza, now I read this book. It's called The Five Rings. It's by Miyamoto Musashi. That's the guy's name. He wrote The Five Rings. This guy was a samurai hundreds of years ago, right? So way before the industrial area in Japan. So now this guy is famous for winning 60 duels. He never lost. 60 duels straight. You know, that's pretty impressive. Those are really, really high stake duels, you know? And so he wrote this book, and some of it's a little bit confusing, but it's a really great read. And he said that one of the most important things is to stay calm, right? And like again, we're talking about fight or flight, right? So if you're about to fight a duel, it's maybe a little bit more stressful than having an argument, depending on who you are, I guess. But maybe it's like a little bit more stressful, right? So he said it was really important to focus on breathing. Now I've heard that they still teach this technique to like Navy SEALs and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Coach Wayne isn't on to verify that, but I have heard this. So in the thing, he has this thing where it's like you breathe in deep for 4 seconds, and then
Yes.
you hold the breath briefly, and then you exhale for 6 seconds.
6 to 8.
Yeah, 6 to 8 seconds, right? And so you've heard of this before, so it's not crazy talk, right? So that's what I was going to ask you, because like you got like this modern science thing going on, and I wanted to see like how did that jive, right? So if you find yourself like getting really anxious about this thing, how well do you think that breathing technique would work, where you breathe in,
That really
hold it,
helps.
and then
Uh,
let it go?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
when you control on your breathing, that connects your nervous system, and your nervous system is basically your brain is like receiving or sending signals. So once you slow down, and what happens when you are in a fight or flight, or when you are in a conflict, your breathing increase, your pupil dilated, or you are like breathing really fast. So once you slow down, once you breathe 4 seconds through your nose, and 6 to 8 seconds long exhale, what happened? Your body gets the signal that you are in a calming situation. There's nothing alarming. You don't need to worry about anything. So that's just a signal your brain is getting. And once your brain is getting that signal, that's how your whole body gonna calm down, and you feel like this is not a stressful or threatful situation right now.
Yeah, and
And
that's a great pause up. Oh, sorry, keep going.
and also there are like some postures. If you are like in this situation, it means you are feeling some threat. You need to, drop your shoulders or unclench your jaw. That also helps to send your brain signals that situation is not very stressful.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was gonna actually make that point. And Coach Stella, so we have disagreements in literally all facets of our life, whether it be in our personal life, professional life, just in general. What are some of the best practices and first thought that you have when you're going into an argument and can be in any of those situations?
So I'll give you a specific example. So I'm a health coach, and part of health coaching is doing discovery calls with prospective clients that are interested in my program. And I do get yeses, and of course I get nos. And you have to be pretty keen on their body language because you immediately know when someone will say no. It's just like as soon as you tell them the price, they kind of just like lean back. They're doing the math, carry the one, and you just know just from the next breath through their nostrils, even that micro expression, you know that they're gonna say no. And that's when you have to kind of like reframe, gear it differently. And then you got to ask them a question. Like for me, I always say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. This is a lot, but money aside, what is your health worth to you? You know? And that gets people to kind of like sit back and they're like, damn, I wish you didn't ask me that question. Because it's like a guilt trip, but it's like a good guilt trip. Everybody wins.
It's the same thing, right? It's like when you tell people, what would you do if there is somebody that you love, your mother, your wife, whatever, was there anything, wouldn't you walk through glass for this? And this is your health. This is your number one priority. And so there's those different sales techniques. I was actually going to have those written down. So Maza and Stella are just stealing my groove. So yeah, the great points, because it's really having these disagreements is about framing the conversation, right? And obviously, I think that you should go into any disagreement, especially if it's someone that you care about, like a family member or a friend, with good intentions. And hopefully, Coach Eli can start talking about how to find some common ground early on and build rapport, because I think that's really important. But if you're not having those type of disagreements and you're having disagreements with other people, you might be in negotiation, right? It could be just one thing to talk about as a frame, right? Typically, the person speaking the most is the person that is not holding the frame. So, like, if you've ever had a girl or a guy that really liked you, they were usually like the texting all the time and hey, oh, so what's your sign? And what's your favorite color? And da da da. They're talking thing. The person's just like, well, same thing in a job interview, right? The person that's giving you the interview has the higher frame. They're asking you questions. You're like, well, I should be good enough for this. Oh, well, I'll teach you. Here's how I can do this. And I love what Stella brought up there, is because there's three main overall sales perspectives. One is like, okay, here, please do whatever I'll do whatever you say just to sell it. The other one's like kind of like just leaving it there. And the other one's like, why should I sell you this awesome product? Explain to me why you should be allowed to this Apple iPhone cult or whatever it is, right? But Stella's making a great pitch because it's literally about your health, right? And so all of those things are worthless without that. So great point, Stella. And yes, any guys that want to take this, but what are some good ideas for building rapport and finding some common ground? And I think it's important to do it early on in disagreements. Even if it's somebody you don't like and want to own in the disagreement, I still think it's important. So any best practices on that? Go ahead, Maza.
Yes, I would like to add one thing here, that teams that allow respectful disagreement or are more innovative and resilient. And there's also one more thing, that if you don't do couples, especially studies shows that the couples who avoid conflict, they are more likely, 67% of them, they're gonna have emotional, you know they're gonna have emotional problem in next 5 years of, or within the 5 years of their lifespan or relationship.
So wait, so you're saying 67% of couples in this study, right? Like if they avoid a conflict, like they don't have an argument about it, they just avoid the conflict, then that leads to an emotional like break within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So one little tidbit I want to add to that. So there's this Canadian psychologist I follow, Jordan Peterson. I have his books too. He's amazing. And he
Never
has a
heard of
lecture. Jordan Peterson. Gotta check him out. Canadian.
You can tell he's Canadian because he got the floppy head.
The floppy, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, he has a lecture on this actually, about couples that don't approach their problems head on. And he actually has an illustration for that. It's the dragon that lives underneath the house. And the more that you don't approach the problem head on, I won't tell him about his socks, underneath there, whatever. Oh, whatever. Well, that's going to build and build and build. And then he's going to do something stupid like leave the house without unplugging the toaster. And it's going to be a huge explosion, right? And that dragon is just going to engulf the house, and the tail's going to stick out and the head's going to be that way. And that just started from this little baby dragon, and that could have been rectified at the source if they just had an argument over
I wonder what they have in the water in Canada, because I'm pretty sure Dane Cook is Canadian, and he had like a stand-up bit about like nothing fights, like in the store where like the husband and wife are arguing about peanut butter, and it's like they're not arguing about peanut butter,
Yeah, it's their attachment issues. That's where it starts.
But yeah. So that's like a really good point. And here's the thing: like this is why I started off saying like arguments are a good thing. Like an argument happening is actually like it's revealing of what was already there. It's not like a new development. It's the resolution of the difference between your opinion and their opinion, right? Like, and so you can't resolve that without an argument, without some sort of, and again, when I say argument, I am not saying you need to scream at each other and throw things, right? But like without communicating your disagreement, right? And without like advocating for your side and them advocating for their side, there's going to be no resolution. There could never be a resolution. It isn't like one day they're just going to see everything the way that you see it and then that's it. Like that's not how life works. So an argument is actually an opportunity to resolve an issue that's already there. And then on top of that, you should approach it with humility because you could be the one that's wrong, right? And like, so when you see somebody who has a different opinion than you, right, you should always, even when you are pretty sure of yourself, you should always leave the door open a little bit. Like maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not fully right and I'm missing something and I'm coming off a little bit too strong here or something like that. So really, not only is an argument an opportunity to resolve an issue, but it's an opportunity to learn something new and grow as a person. So that just understanding that can help you like resolve that fight or flight like situation. The breathing exercise I think can help do that. And then it's important to do that because when you're in that fight or flight state, right? You might say something that you don't mean. You might use a tone of voice that comes off too harsh, and so the person's not listening to you. They're listening to the tone, or you might be like talking past each other, or you might, you just might not be thinking clearly. So you could end up having a very disastrous conversation, right? If you're not resolving that fight or flight thing. So the first thing is definitely keep calm, right? And then, Coach Will, you asked me what's like a way to like find common ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you understand, if you have that humility coming into it, so the first thing, an argument starts happening, you stop, you take your breaths, you realize that this is an opportunity to resolve a problem that already exists. It's not a new problem, it already exists, and this is the resolution of it. And then you have the mentality like, hey, maybe I can grow here. This is something that could be good moving forward, right? Now it's time to actually like find common ground. Like, where do we agree, right? And then once you start putting yourself in that like us bubble, right, where it's like, well, we're on the same side here. We have the same goals. Where do we agree, right? Then you're going to feel a lot calmer because now this isn't an adversary. Now you're starting to put them on you're starting to put them on your side, right? So I think that's important.
Yeah, I actually just received 3 tweets while you guys were speaking. One from Justin Trudeau, one from Justin Bieber, one from Celine Dion, and apparently Dancing Dragons Live is wanted for hate crimes against the monolithic state of Canada. So, guys, like, share, and subscribe to this if you're just joining. Find us at the links in the descriptions. F's in the chat for Harambe because now we need your support more than ever. And I think the secret life hack here is actually the Socratic method. And this is why, even if I would take on a debate that I don't know how to strongman their argument, would be because I have the Socratic method handy. I truly believe that if we use, I really believe that the Socratic method is the most underrated idea in the history of all humanity. And that if we simply employed it on a day-to-day basis, we wouldn't have geopolitical problems, economic problems, and even problems on a day-to-day basis. The Socratic method is just basically asking questions, and that's a cool way to win a debate, is because you don't even have to make a statement. You can just make the person keep talking until they find themselves unable to really back up what they're saying. And that's another important reason to go back and look at our shows about identifying logical fallacies. But you can never lose an argument or a disagreement or a debate by just simply asking questions. And a lot of times, I mean, me and Elijah have had discussions behind the scenes. We're going on talking for hours, and I'd be like, oh, da, 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 da. And at the end of the day, we were talking about a word, and we had 2 totally different definitions of what that word meant. And there's a lot of implications behind the word. So it's really important to say, all right, well, let's define this word. What does this word mean in this context? Words can mean different things in different contexts, right? And then another thing that I think is really important, if you're having a disagreement with somebody, sometimes that person, because as Maza pointed out, they get in their fight and flight. They're not able to think logically. So after they've taken a deep breath, maybe even then, after they've calmed down, there are some beliefs that we hold as human beings that we identify with the core of our personality, really who we are. I think another important distinction to make in debates is separating Elijah's who Elijah is from Elijah's theory, right? So that's important to do too. But then there's going to be some people, and it's good to identify, not wasting your time. You ask them at the beginning of this conversation, what would it take for you to change your mind? And then there's some people that are going to say simply nothing. And then I laugh in their face and they're like, really? Logic and science and facts will make you change your mind? You're an idiot. And my mom's like, get back down there and stop eating all my Hot Pockets. And that's how we resolve our conflict. We push it under the rug so the dragon cooks all my Hot Pockets. All right, enough of that stuff. But I do think it's really important, the Socratic method and asking to do that.
Actually, yeah, that was a really great point, Will. Maza, we were so selfish here talking about how to get rid of your own fight or flight. We didn't even think about the other person, right? So they might be having a similar like biological event here. Like, is there anything that we could do to like help them resolve that? Like, what do you think that we could do to like help them get past their own fight or flight response?
Well, before Maza answers that, I've always heard it's a good rule of thumb just to tell a woman to calm down. That always works.
Calm down. That's what I do. Yeah, that's my go-to. Is that
and just throw chocolate at her and time it at once.
I do hear that women can be distracted with offering them slices of cheese.
So when we are in a conflict, we don't know the other person is feeling the same sort of emotions right now or not. So I think it's better that we pause the conflict in a healthy way. That if your body is like overwhelmed, you continue the argument makes it more worse. So rather than doing that, I think it's better we should say something like, I'm getting overwhelmed. I need a short break so I don't say something I regret later on? Or can we take a pause and I'll come back in 20 minutes? I have other thing like just came up, or I will talk about it, but later on. Right now, I'm not in a fully stable mindset that I can talk about it. That I think is understandable for with that person too.
Well, let me hold on a second, Mother. I don't mean to throw you under the bus here, but Will, if you were working with somebody and you were arguing with them and they were like, well, hold on, this argument's getting a little intense for me. I need a break. Let me come back in 20 minutes.
What I would do is I would say, "You're a coward. Stop running from the facts. Get back here and face me like a man."
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I'm a kind person. I genuinely am. Like, I am a kind person. I don't know if I could respect a person after they did that. I really don't. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it if you're really getting overwhelmed, but I'm just going to be honest. I think that's terrible advice. I just like maybe if it's with a family member, fine. If you're like at work or something and you're in an argument and you're like, well, hold on a second. This is too much for me. I need to take 20.
I
don't
did
know if
believe,
you can come back
Elijah.
from that.
Elijah, you're obviously not taking your own advice from this, because if you were doing your active listening, which is the key in disagreements, then you would understand the context. And Massa was clearly talking about a disagreement between a loved one, a family member, and it was outside of the workplace. So thanks for wasting all that time, because you didn't listen to all what we said.
I would like to add one more thing here, that what we could do is reframe the threat. For example, your nervous system is like thinks you are in danger. You must remind or send signals to your brain that you are safe. Silently saying yourself that this is uncomfortable, not dangerous. I'm safe even if we disagree, or I don't have to win to be okay, you know. So this helps shift your control back to the thinking, logically to yourself.
Okay.
And I would like to add one more thing over here is that is grounding techniques. As we previously talked about the breathing exercise, and there is one more thing which is called like grounding technique. And in that technique, what we say is, for example, if you are in an argument with someone right now, and you don't want to continue that, or you are having a panic attack or something, then you just say to yourself, what are the 5 things I can see right now? Just to shift your mind control or sense calming signal to your brain. Just to say yourself, what are the 5 things I can see right now? Okay, I can see a wall, I can see a table, I can see you just think that in your brain. So your brain start thinking about those things rather than thinking about something, so that you can say something bad to your loved one. And 5 things you see, maybe 4 things what you can feel, 3 things what you can hear. It can be someone's dog is barking somewhere, something like that. And 1 thing you are like you can taste right now. If you start thinking that, if you start focusing on your senses right now, then what happened? Your brain is shift the attention towards those things rather than focusing on what to say to that person back, how to get back on that argument.
Well,
So
I love that advice actually, to like, because it takes you away from your like emotional side, and it brings you back to like more tangible things. I love that. Now, here's the thing, right? I have a way to kind of do that, and this is like a sneaky trick here. While you're actually thinking about the debate or the argument, right? And that is, you should make it a goal in any debate to actually learn something, right? And so a very important thing is asking the person questions, because that's going to let them be more open to you. If they feel like you're actually curious about their points of view and what they have to say, right? Now, even if you aren't curious, you should still force yourself to seem curious or whatever. And if you do that, so what you can do is, instead of thinking about like the wall or like what you hear, you can think like, what do they believe and what am I curious about? And if you start thinking about that, it kind of becomes a thing because like there's a bunch going on. The conversation's happening. They're talking. You're like all this stuff going on in the background in your head, right? So you can while you're doing this, you can try to like figure out like I need to figure out a way to ask them a really good question. And that should always be a goal, is to ask a really good question when you're in a debate. Like try to find like the best question. Like the question everybody will stand up and start clapping for, right? Like really try to find like the best question. And then that will distract you enough with your logical brain where you'll get kind of pulled out of your emotional state, I think. I think that's like a pretty good thing. What do you say about that, Maza? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, but I would like to add one more thing in there. Like
Okay.
when you wanna, once you wanna shift your defense to shift your argument from being defensive to a curious person and asking such questions rather than saying, no, you always do this to me or something like that. You say, okay, what feels most important to you here right now? Or what are you afraid might happen? If you
Mhm.
have such powerful questions to ask, then might that thing gonna change, whatever is like bringing a like spark there right now for a fuel there right now for the argument, that can be changed to a conversation rather than being argumentative.
Yeah, and one thing I would be remiss if I did not mention is kind of on Coach Eli's point. You're going to want to, after you have a debate or a discussion or an argument with someone, once you ask them, okay, so what's going on, right? Tell me what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Then after that person says that, you want to restate, in other words, that back to that person and get a yes or no. So I'm hearing you're saying this, because that's how you're going to formulate that conversation. There's also going to build rapport at the same time. Coach Della, any other things that we should avoid or maybe go and purposely do when you're having a disagreement, whether it's building rapport or it's a heated debate? Any other best practices?
So you said avoid?
Yeah, well, and just in general, things to avoid or things to implore, like just in general.
Well, actually, to add to Coach Eli, when you said that, what exactly did you say? I wanted to say that it was like a breakthrough moment. It was like a learning. You said learning opportunity.
Yeah.
I was thinking that like it's a breakthrough opportunity for both parties, for both, so the person posing the question and the one receiving it, and it's because they're both ends are they should be asking themselves, in my opinion, that they should be asking themselves, what am I missing from both sides? And then what they're missing is kind of like you have a Venn diagram, right? Person A, person B, and in the middle is what they're missing. It's parts of the whole that they don't have. And I think that's kind of like how I carry on with my discovery calls. When
Mhm.
someone doesn't want to, shell out the money, I ask myself, what am I missing here? How it's not really like manipulation, but it's more so it's getting inside their head, but it's seeing what they're missing. Like, where are they coming from? Obviously, their lens, but then the X. It's an algebra. I'm solving for X, right? So going about that, even like I've applied that in my past relationships, and I would ask myself, what am I? Because I'd react, obviously, like, hello, estrogen, woman, okay. But then I would cool down and I'd ask myself, what am I missing here? And then as soon as I figure out what the missing variable is, then I'm able to solve. And then we're able
Mhm.
to, because I'd usually be the ones to get back into the argument and just get a resolution. Because I don't like to fight. Who likes
And
to
just to
fight? I don't like.
And just to clarify, Coach Della, when you're first of all, just asking the question itself, what am I missing? I think is extremely important. What were you doing? Were you just kind of sitting there and ruminating about this subject until it kind of came to you? But just asking that question in general, I think, is amazing.
What was I? I'm sorry. Say that again. What was I doing?
So once you asked yourself that question, what would you just kind of sit there and analyze or ruminate over until it came to you, or was there any other processes that you used?
Oh, okay. I see. Yes, yes. It's something I would meditate on. I have different ways of meditating. One way of meditating I play flute, play jazz and classical,
Alright.
and that's one way I meditate. I'll just be practicing chords or something on my flute, and bam, I have the answer. So it's in the ethos of my higher thinking when I'm playing flute. I really don't have like an exact methodology, but it usually I'm a firm believer that if you can think it, you can achieve it. It will come to you. That
Yeah.
answer is always there. It's always in your. It's what was it? Socrates had the inner datum. Is that what it was
Yeah.
called?
Demon, or something
I'm
like that.
sorry, the inner
No,
daemon.
don't
I'm
be
sorry.
sorry.
Yes, the inner daemon when he told him to eat the what was it? The hemlock.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that I believe
So,
that inner daemon tells us what the
yeah.
right
So,
path is.
Coach Stella, are you also a believer in the law of attraction?
The law of attraction. What do you mean by that?
Okay, because you
So
were talking
no,
about manifest.
no.
Oh, darn it, darn it. Okay. All right. Well, we'll chat about that another time. Coach Mazza, yes or no on the law of attraction, and then whatever your thought is. Just give me a quick yes or no.
No, I just have like one thing to say that one of the ways to how we can get rid of the heated argument is that make the debate about the question, not about the person. So instead of saying you are wrong, that makes no sense. I think we should say that let's examine this. What evidence support that? Or what might be we are missing, can you please like say that again? So that's how you can talk about the thing, or talk about whatever the argument is, rather than hating on that person.
And here's another thing. There was a study actually. It was Fisher et al. It was 2010s to 2020s. It was done at Yale. And basically, what they studied was that they would have people, and they would have them like debate each other on a topic. But like some of the people, they would tell, win this debate with this other person, and then the other people, they would say, try to learn as much as you can in this debate, right? And they would just still have the same debate, the same kind of debate. But what they found was that the people that were told to debate to learn were vastly more knowledgeable about the holistic topic than afterwards than the people who were told to debate to win. So you're doing yourself a disservice when you're just trying to like pummel somebody into the ground, right? Because you really can learn a lot from other people, even if they're completely wrong about something. You can learn about how other people see the situation other than yourself. You can learn about other perspectives. They don't even have to be right to teach you something. Right. So the best way to do it is to like really take that like lifelong learner, like nerdy thing they told you in fifth grade to do, but like really take that to heart and be that nerd, right? And actually try to get the most out of your conversations, and it will benefit you, right? And it's shown out in studies that if you're actually looking to learn something in your debates, you're just going to not only be more convincing to the other side, because they're going to see it as less hostile and therefore they're going to be less defensive. But you're also going to come away with much more knowledge of the situation.
I would just say, don't get into debates where you don't know the other side's argument back and forth. As a general rule, I know sometimes in school or whatever they make you do that, but you literally shouldn't be in a debate if you can't tell me every single part of the other person's argument. I literally don't think you should be in a debate at that point. You can have at that point, it should be a discussion. You can ask them to learn more, because at that point you shouldn't have a side on the debate, because your mind isn't made up, because you don't have all the available knowledge. You shouldn't make up your mind on a subject or topic if you don't have all available knowledge. So that's where you go to different people who have different ideas and ask them all, hey, what's your take on this? And try to get as many as you can before you dare formulate an opinion on anything. That's my personal take. Couple other things I wanted to mention about going into a disagreement or a debate. One of the things I'm always ringing the bell on is the halo effect. If you dress good, if you smell good, people are going to assume other things about you that are not necessarily true. Oh, this guy must be good with kids. Oh, this guy's pretty good with money, right? Another thing too, everyone remembers the famous Milgram experiments back in the day. And one of the reasons that the Milgram experiment was able to be so effective is because people spoke with confidence. And one of the things, that we talked about a bunch of different peer-reviewed studies and statistics today, and Alex was kind of having a sit on that. But did you guys know that 90% of people that fled the genocide in Rwanda were infected with leprosy? No, but you believe it. I just made that up because I just said it with confidence, and people would believe it, right? So people follow people with confidence, and that's one of the unfortunate parts about the way we do things. But it is a way that you can ethically persuade someone. Obviously, you could do it and not be ethical. Another small tip is use a deeper voice when you're speaking, especially as a man, because that command it's perceived by people from peer-reviewed studies to be more authoritative, and therefore more people will listen to you. And then I really like what Coach Stella and everyone else brought up about the frames, right? The framing the conversation is the most important. I'm not saying you necessarily should, but in more situations than not, the lawyer or the doctor in that situation has the frame over you, because you're saying, hey, look, I don't know, I didn't study law for 7 years. Hey, look, I didn't go to, so you're deferring to them. So they have an authoritative frame above you. So what you need to do is, just like I said, you need to learn ins and outs of every disagreement to be an authority on that subject, because otherwise you're not, and you shouldn't be speaking from that. And so that's part of the thing that you should do too. But also, a lot of times in a debate, framing the conversation, asking a different question can totally, or especially if you're being attacked in a debate and someone's trying to say, oh, do you still beat your wife, right? Or people will try to pigeonhole you into little ideas or questions to kind of get you off foot. Just reframe it, ask a question, right? And you don't always have to respond to how someone else says. You can completely ignore that, like politicians do all the time, right? If you guys have ever seen a press conference or a debate, they'd be like, excuse me, sir, you've increased the national debt, you're financing 2 genocides going on, and it looks like you're on the Epstein list. Or one thing I can tell you is that the United States is the greatest country that ever lived. And little Billy from Minnesota, I remember last week, and then he goes on 15 minutes, and you'd be like, I don't even remember what the question was. You forgot that he was a genocider, right? So don't hesitate to steal the frame right from somebody. But yeah, guys, any other best practices that we have here for disagreements? I know Coach Eli's got something.
I mean, a best practice would not to be use the G word like 7 times in a row on a live stream. Will.
So that's my bad.
I would like to add that we talk about like ways how to handle the criticism and everything, but we need to understand, we need to know when the debate has reached to its limit. And there are some signs, for example, repetition without any insight in there. You are wrong, you are wrong, you did that, you are wrong. There's nothing more to that. That person is saying just the same thing again and again. It means we are already reached to the limit of this, whatever thing is going on. So we need to end up with something healthy. For example, okay, we can say that we may not agree on something, but I appreciate your conversation on this with me. This helps me understand your perspective, but this is my perspective. So we both have our perspectives. So there are some ways where you can put, full stop on some conversation in some ways.
Yeah, and just it's so important to understand that like creating that us bubble and getting each other on the same page can be very, very superficial. But people just hearing the words like, I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. It doesn't even really mean anything, but it just totally relaxes the situation. And it allows you to get like to more important things in the debate and get past that emotional defensive layer, right? And so just like little phrases like that during a debate is like, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for sharing your feelings with me on this. I know it's a sensitive subject. Just saying something like that, you can just be a total jerk after that too. Just saying that by itself is enough to kind of disarm a person.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, yes, this disarms, disengages, kind of brings it from a level 10 to like a level 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that point, this is what I have written down on that same topic is every gentleman and every lady for that matter, you should know a joke, right? And especially in a tense business negotiation, and it doesn't, and you should be able to make up a joke off the fly. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, a nun walked into a bar," right? All jokes is just misdirection, right? You just give two examples. Well, today I want to raise my pay. You're telling your boss, I want to have that company parking spot right out front, and I want all the paper clips I can get my hands on, right? It's just a stupid joke. It's just, you just give three examples. The last one's a misdirection, right? And so, especially if you're in something very, very tense, maybe you're arguing with your wife, maybe you're having a disagreement with someone you love, or maybe you're having a negotiation about something very important. If you can disarm them and ease the tension with the joke, you literally have to have a joke in there at some point, right? And that builds rapport like crazy. Another little psychological thing that I brought up too, if at all possible, let's say you're trying to win over a potential client, right? Or maybe it's a first date, right? Instead of going to a restaurant and sitting across from one another, go and sit at the bar, because psychologically, subconsciously, sitting shoulder to shoulder kind of implies, or go to Dave and Buster's and play like a you know what 'em up video game, right? Because you are shoulder to shoulder with that person, implying psychologically, subconsciously, we're on the same team here. We're not disagreement faced against one another. So those are a couple other little tips there.
And one thing, like every debate is a good point for yourself to reflect on yourself. So extract the value after the discussion. We could say, we can think about that, and we could say that, what did I learn today after this discussion? Where was I triggered? Or what assumptions was challenged? Or what did I handle well? Where did I was a little out of the track? Or what could I do differently next time? So all these questions we need to ask ourselves after some kind of debate or discussion, that helps us to understand about ourselves and about that topic, whatever we are having at that time. It helps in both ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Coach Eli, what's your I know you had a couple other points you wanted to get to, sir.
I think that we covered most of the points that I really wanted to get to. What I would say is that if you really want to get the most out of an argument, right? Like, just like in summary here, right? You got to remain calm, right? Because you're not going to achieve your goals if you're too emotional about things, right? You want to calm the other person, right? Now, we covered that. I wasn't even planning on talking about that. Selfish me, Coach Will, he set me straight in this conversation, right? Like, you got to calm the other person too, right? So that way that they can be a full participant, right? You got to come in with the humility, like, and actually like try to learn, right? And you can learn from just about anybody that you're talking with, whether you're learning big facts that are going to totally change your mind about something, or just little things on how to better persuade people, right? Like, you just keep an open mind about what you can learn, right? And then I really like how Mazza brought up just like reviewing everything, right? Like actually like sit back and look at it afterwards and be like, and this is something we might talk about it maybe next week, maybe not, maybe it'll be like a few weeks out. I think next week is going to be about New Year's resolutions or whatever, right? But like a topic that we do have on deck is about like how to perform like an after action review kind of thing. And this is like a really important thing, like even like in like the chess world, right? If you like start to like try to learn how to play chess, like everybody will tell you, like, do not play a game of chess that you do not review. Like, it's a complete waste of your time. If you're like, don't play a game of chess that you do not review, right? And so this is just how you get better at things, is that you review them. And like, so if you're struggling with discussions, if you're struggling with disagreements, if you feel like you've had like a bad argument, or you constantly have like hostile discussions with people that you wish went better, right? Make sure that you take your time to review it. Now, I know a lot of people, they do this kind of like weird I'm the best person in the world kind of review where they just try to look back on it about how the other person was so wrong and how they were so right, and then they like rewrite everything to be like, oh yeah, but they forgot about this, I should have said that, that's what I should have said. That's not the kind of review that we're talking about. We're talking about actually having a humble review, like, hey, always like we covered last week, Mazza, like always look for where you went wrong, because that's you're the only thing that you can control in this world. So looking at how other people did things wrong doesn't actually help you in any way. But if you look for how you did something wrong, then you can grow and improve in the future, and so you won't have the same problems in the future, right? So always be searching for ways that you can improve and things that you did poorly, because finding that somebody else did something poorly doesn't help you in any way, but finding that you did something poorly helps you immensely. Go ahead, Will.
One of the ways that you can improve yourself, shameless plug, insert here, is by finding us at DancingDragons.CC, DancingDragons.CC. One more time for the propaganda, DancingDragons.CC. And as Coach Eli alluded to earlier this evening, we have a plethora, array, a smorgasbord, a cornucopia of different coaches on a wide array of topics. Anything that you want to achieve out of your life, maybe it's a health journey, and I'm going to implore Coach Stella to give us a shout out and let her know where we can find her. Obviously, her links, and the links will be in the description, but also as well. But you only have one life, and as I talked to you earlier, if your tummy hurts, you're going to go see a doctor. If you're getting in trouble, get arrested like I did, hey, you're going to go see a lawyer. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, Coach Stella, if you got a minute, we'll talk about that in the law of attraction afterwards. Hey, no criminal record. And guess what, folks? Even if you do have a criminal record, I've interviewed a few people who are in jail for 29 years for a crime they didn't commit. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Anyways, this justice system is incredibly, guess what? We're going on a tangent for 10 hours. All right. The state of Canada, you're next. All right. We're live here. All right. No, but seriously, which you have one life on this planet and you want to take the most of it. So whether it's a journey about health, maybe you're trying to find the love of your life, maybe you're trying to make money, maybe all of the above. We have plenty of coaches, so check us out at DancingDragons.CC. I want to thank the coaches for joining, and yeah, let's go around and shout out where you guys can be found at, and then any final thoughts. And I will just say finally for myself, you could listen to what these folks are saying, or you could just always be correct and shamelessly use ad hominem attacks, is what I do. And guys, I'm only going to promote my OnlyFans, so find me at Fake Mike Real Nudes.
Okay, Coach Stella. Hard act to follow, but do you have any closing statements? Then where can we find you?
No one can top you, Will. They only made one of you. They broke the mold. It's only one of you. But yeah, no. Thanks for having me tonight, guys. You can find me on Instagram, Stella.ieraci. It's Irachi. It's not Liberace, it's Irachi. And yeah, no, you guys are great. I love these sessions. Thanks.
Awesome.
Our pleasure. You're
and
welcome back
Mazza,
all the time. We love having you.
Yeah, Mazza,
any final
do you have any closing? Yeah, go ahead, Will.
And anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I would like to add here a productive debate doesn't ask who's right. It asks what can we understand more clearly together, and that shifts the change everything. That shift, change of all the argument, that shift just changed it. Once you came to the point that there's no one who's right or who's wrong, we need to understand this together. So yeah, that's the last line I would like to add.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead. What do you want to promote? Sorry.
You can find me on Instagram, Dr. Mazza Said name. Yeah, I have a page, Mindful Life. And soon I'm gonna get the coach sign up over here too.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for coming down to Dancing Dragons Live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember,